Hey everyone, welcome to A Fistful of Dice. My name is Matt, and this is a video that I've tried filming a couple different times, and it just hasn't come out right. It hasn't come out the way that I want to present this topic, so I've put my notes away. I don't have anything written down. I'm just going to kind of talk at the camera for a few minutes and see if anything coherent comes out, and I'm posting this either way. So I'm really interested to hear you guys' thoughts on this topic, so feel free to do video responses and comments and all that stuff as usual. So the topic is going to be restricting yourself as a GM. Now, this is sort of a philosophy that I subscribe to just outside of gaming as well, in my writing and all of that, and just in life in general. And it's the idea of restricting oneself to enhance your creativity. And normally when we think about being creative, when we think about really like letting our creativity flow, we think about breaking down barriers. We don't think about putting them up. We think about unrestricting ourselves. We think about total freedom of expression, which allows us to be the most creative. I don't think that's true. I think in most things in life that restrictions breed creativity. Let me give you an example of something that is not tabletop gaming. This is something that my roommate and I talk about quite a bit. But in movies, let's use Star Wars as an example, the original Star Wars. CGI did not exist back then. Computers were not used in movies. You know, all of the ships were models. Green screening was done manually. The lightsabers were rotoscoped, which means they were actually drawn on the film. So someone would go frame by frame to draw the lightsabers on. These restrictions that the filmmakers had to work around created some of the best movies ever. And also led to the advent of several very important technologies for movies. Because they have barriers that they have to work around, restrictions that they have to try to overcome. That is when art is at its most potent. So, applying this to GMing, let's say you're a new GM, you're just starting out. Maybe you've run a couple modules before, but you know, you maybe only have a few sessions under your belt, and you're wanting to strike into world building, or you're wanting to get into, you know, making your own campaign. The pit that a lot of GMs fall into is that they think too big, too fast. They think, I've got to build the entire world. Just knocked my lunch over. I've got to build the entire world. I've got to populate with all of these things. I have to have thousands of years worth of history before I can even write this adventure. Don't fall into that trap. If you start out too big, you're going to get burned out. You're going to stop doing it. It's not going to pan out. You have to restrict yourself. Focus. Focus your intentions down. Don't start with the world. Start with a city. Maybe the players start out in a city, and then from there they move out of the city and they go somewhere else. And all of a sudden, the world is built organically around the party. And in fact, the party have sort of involvement in building the world. And maybe things that you didn't even think of start to happen. A culture that you never would have invented somehow springs up in the course of this sort of organic world building. By restricting yourself, you have to get creative. You have to think, where are my players going, and what can I make there that is exciting? After a few sessions, you're starting to build up the region. After a year, the world is populated with all of these rich NPCs and cultures, cities, political you know, groups, all of this different stuff. Now, that's not to say that you can't do lore writing in order to make the world seem more tangible. That is, of course, you know, something that everyone should do, you know, things that you can sort of draw from for inspiration. But that is a pit that a lot of GMs fall into, is starting too big and having no barriers, no restrictions, just completely open, no sort of restraint. Just, I'm going to build an entire world from scratch. That is really tough to do. And you can do it, but I'm telling you, you're going to get burned out, and it's going to take a lot longer than you think it's going to. And, you know, plenty of GMs can attest to this. So, how can we apply this to everyday GMing, this whole restricting yourself to be more creative? Well, give yourself storytelling restrictions. I want to finish this adventure in 3 weeks. Or the party can only stay within one city, or something like that. And then all of a sudden you have to start thinking creatively. You have to start thinking, well, if they're only in one city, what can I add in this city that makes it exciting enough, sprawling enough to stay in it for a long amount of time? What sort of people can I put in here? What sort of quests can I put in here to keep the PCs wanting to stay in this city? You don't want to railroad players. You want to make it natural, organic. The players need to want to stay there if that is a restriction you're going to put there. So you got to think creatively. Maybe the city has no magic in it. Oh, now the players have to think we got to be careful when we use our magic, because, you know, it's going to draw some undue attention to us. So, wizard guy, you're going to have to pretend that you don't know how to do magic. Or, you know, when we do spells, we have to be really covert about it. That sort of thing. It leads to really interesting roleplay opportunities, and it's just more imaginative, makes you think harder, and makes you have to plan. So, I don't know. It's just something I've been thinking about, and it sprawls beyond RPGs, but it's something that I want your guys' thoughts on. Are you a subscriber to the no restrictions, no barriers, just completely open freedom of expression? Or, like me, do you like to set up restrictions for yourself in order to get your juices flowing, in order to have to be more creative with the situation? This was definitely rambly, but let me know what you guys think.